Story 1. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my sister's husband's surgery with my inheritance/college money? Context. My sister, 27 female, and I, 18 female, lost our dad a year ago. He was my only parent. Mom was never in mine or my sister's life. Dad left money, inheritance, for me and my sister, and she used her inheritance to get new cars and renovate her house. I live with my aunt right now because my brother-in-law didn't let me stay with my sister. I'm planning on using my inheritance money to pay for college tuition. I've always wanted to be a doctor, but I haven't decided which branch yet. My sister and I haven't been close. It started after she got married to her chronically ill husband, who was allowed to make backhanded comments about Dad and mock his illness and make a scene at his funeral only because he's ill and shouldn't be held accountable for his behavior. I've distanced myself, but my sister kept visiting a lot lately, venting about my brother-in-law's condition. He's been in and out of the hospital for heart problems and in need of surgery. She brought up my inheritance money several times, but I ended up cutting the conversation. She then straight up asked if I could help pay for her husband's surgery, and she'd pay back in less than a year. I felt uneasy because if I give her money from my inheritance, which is a large amount, then there's no guarantee she'll pay back before it's time to apply for college. I'm taking a year gap, but I know my sister can't pay back that much, and I felt I was risking my future. I refused to help, and she had a meltdown at my aunt's house, calling me heartless, cruel, with no empathy. She said that her husband's health should be a priority, and I needed to help because education is nothing compared to someone's health, and asked if I'd be happy to see her as a widow, and my nephew with no father. My aunt suggested others pay, but most of them cut my sister and her husband off. I argue that her husband's poor health isn't my fault after she kept blaming and guilting me. She kept crying, and although my aunt decided to stay out of it, she said that I should be prepared for permanent damage in my relationship with my sister if I don't help her now. She's been sending texts and pictures of her family telling me this is what I was saying no to, a happy, healthy family with a healthy husband and father. I cried and felt like I was being selfish, not a good aunt and sister. I asked my friend, and he said, let them sell the cars and all the luxurious stuff they bought to afford the surgery, and warned me if I give them money, I'll never get it back and may not be able to go to medical school. All right, this is a tough one, and I'm sure not everyone will agree with me, and folks, you can give your opinions in the comments, please. In my personal opinion, I don't think that this person is the a-hole. I don't think it's an a-hole decision because the other sister got part of that inheritance too and chose to spend it on cars and houses. Maybe it was before the husband and the health problems and stuff, so they didn't necessarily know, but they could still sell some stuff off, and you have plans for that concerning your future and your livelihood. And with her saying that she can pay you back, like, where's the hard evidence? Where's the plan? Where's the, look, I can pay you back this much every month and this and that, like, if she's not offering that kind of, commitment and that kind of forethought to it, then yeah, I wouldn't necessarily believe her, especially since other people have already cut them off. It sounds like they've kind of built a reputation for not doing this. And also, you're not that close with them. And it's sad. They are family, and there is some connection there, but, a relationship and family has to be tended to and built just like any other relationship. Just because you have blood relations with someone doesn't automatically mean that you owe them something. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be bad if you did loan that money and everything, but if I was in your position, I don't think I would either. I would put my future and my education first, and they can figure other things out, I truly believe that. So yeah, that's my thoughts, but I genuinely do want to know what folks in the comments think. Story 2. My neighbors wanted to call a professional to mark their property line. My parents agreed. This was a long time ago, but I remember it clearly. We moved into a community with tight space between our house and our neighbors, and we didn't like them being able to see into our kitchen. We put up a bunch of plants costing thousands, but my parents thought it would be worth it. A week later, my parents awoke to the plants completely chopped down. My father was furious and marched down to our neighbor's house. He told my father the plants were on his property line, therefore he had total right to take them down. He warned that if anything were to go on his property again, he would report us to the authorities immediately. Later that day, my father called the company that put in the plants, and with the warranty, we could have them replanted next week for no charge. We made sure there was no way it was on our neighbor's property. However, a few days later, we caught him chopping them down at 2 a.m. We called the police upon obstruction of property, and after a chat with my neighbor, he decided to call a professional and mark his property line. My father agreed. A few days later, I got home to find orange tape in my neighbor's yard. Apparently his fence was 11 feet over our property line. We watched as he took down his fence, completely furious. Within the next month, we were enjoying our new space and privacy in our backyard, and my neighbor ended up losing a quarter of his backyard. My neighbor ended up having to pay almost $10,000 for the destruction of our property, and we got to plant our plants again. Too long didn't read, my neighbor chopped down our plants because he claimed we were on his property. After calling a professional, he lost 11 feet of his backyard and had to pay for destruction of property, and we got to keep our plants. I'm not sure that that story was long enough to justify a too long didn't read, but sure. And yeah, a very justified thing. And honestly, neighbors, okay, here's a cool thing. If you just talk with your neighbors about stuff and you have open communication and you think a neighbor's done something that you're like upset about, like putting plants on your property, there's this really novel concept called going and talking to them first, instead of just going over and chopping down their plants and stuff. Because chances are, if that neighbor had done that and, you know, maybe had just agreed like, all right, the plants can stay up, I understand why you want them or something, they might still have, I mean, technically 11 feet of yard that isn't even theirs. But they would have still had it, and the other family wouldn't have even really known, because there would have been no reason to call up, you know, the property brothers. I don't know. Just talk with your neighbors. Neighbors are great. I love my neighbors so much because I actually talk to them. We help each other out. They're wonderful. I got some neighbors right behind me. Hi, neighbors. So great. Wonderful. Neighbors over there, delightful couple. Just talk with your neighbors, people. Unless they suck. Story 3. I found out that my boyfriend of 2 years is married and has kids. I'm showing myself to his family tomorrow at his church. Throw away because I don't want my followers to see this. I'm just so confused right now and I need to talk to somebody. I've been seeing this guy, Adam, 32, for 2 years. He's from another town but visits me on weekends. I never met his family, friends, or been to his town. I know that he works at the church and he takes pride in that. 3 weeks ago, I found out that he's actually married and has 2 kids. I was devastated and in a state of disbelief, but most of all, I was mad, especially after I confirmed this via his wife's social media account. We're still talking and I haven't broken up with him yet. I planned and decided to show myself to his family on Sunday at his church and let them know that he used me and took advantage. I plan on ending it right then and there. I'm currently in his town staying at a hotel. I'm doing this tomorrow and no one knows except myself. He's still texting me lies thinking that I'm stupid or ignorant. I feel terrible, but something's pushing me to do this. Don't know if it's anger or feeling bad for his wife and kids. I'm not gonna lie, I'm worried this might backfire at me, but at this point I have nothing to lose. I just feel like I need to get my respect and dignity back after being lied to and fooled for 2 years. Okay, I'm gonna say right off the bat, I don't think that this is a good course of action, and I kind of doubt that this went how the poster had hoped it would go, or I don't know if they knew how they hoped it would go, whatever, but the reason I say that I don't think this is the right course of action, you absolutely should inform the wife of this guy. She absolutely has a right to know. Springing it on them at their church is going to stigmatize that wife and that children, possibly. That children. Oh my God, it's early. No, but you're kind of, this could be embarrassing for that wife. This is going to be a shocking and very difficult moment for those children. And you're doing it in a public space where they're supposed to kind of feel safe. I don't know what the age of these children are, but this could be really traumatic for them. And it might be something that might best come from a talk from the mom and maybe the dad, if she's comfortable with that, after they sort out however they're going to handle this. You know, and I know this sounds, I don't want to like protect this guy who's cheating. Screw him. He deserves to have a bad time, but he's not the only one who's going to have a bad time with this. It is going to be his family that possibly suffers from this. And so I would say that is why I would, if you know the wife's social media, privately contact her, discuss this with her. It's going to suck, but I think she has that right to privacy. That's all I got to say.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.